What RTS unit would each mental illness be in the Great Meme Wars? Every ideology, every meme complex, whether it's conservatism, progressivism, Christian nationalism, it's going to have different people who believe in it. And depending on what mental illness you have, that's going to affect what role you play in supporting your ideology in the Great Meme Wars. So obviously we're going to have neurotypicals. These are your heavy infantry. They form your main battle line, right? The majority of every meme army, every ideology is going to be made up of people with neurotypicality. They don't really win the meme war on their own. They just kind of hold the central battle line, and then all of the mentally ill people sort of maneuver around the side and on the internet, and that's how ideologies spread over one another. Next up, we have autists. These are your cognitive berserkers, right? Very intelligent, very low defense with low self-awareness. These guys are like the Urukai at the top of the ladder, so they kind of charge in and just start using terms that nobody understands, like anarcho-syndicalism and Hegelian dialectics, and they're good for sort of carving out that mimetic space for just introducing those terms. And then your heavy infantry, your neurotypicals, they come up the ladder and they're kind of like, yeah, Hegelian dialectics, that just means let's look at the truth in both sides of a perspective and try to blend them together to get to a higher order truth. And everyone's like, okay, that makes sense. But the cognitive berserkers, they go in there, they just pretend like everyone knows the terms they're already using and the memes they're using. But because they don't have any social awareness, they just get wiped out easily. Okay, next we have psychopaths. These are your assassins. They're very highly specialized units. They're very rare in the population, so you're not going to have many of these in your army unless you're playing like antinatalism or something like that. Psychopaths are very good at taking out individuals from opposing meme armies, usually by doxing them, which then prevents those individuals from participating in the online discourse broadly, let alone just the meme wars in general. Next up are your schizophrenics. These are your mages and spellcasters, obviously, specifically conjuration mages, because they conjure up things that aren't there, quite clearly. They're very good at creating new memes, right? They can tap into the winds of magic, they see a pattern in the world, and then they can concretize and manifest that pattern into a meme, into an artistic work, and then that helps spread your ideology forward into battle. There's not many people who are schizophrenic, just like there's not many people who have magical capabilities, so you need to use them effectively, and these are sort of your, your high damage fireball casters in the meme wars, right? Okay, next we have paranoid people. These are your military police.
Stop! Stop! Pay the court a fine or serve your sentence. Stop! Pay the court a fine or serve your sentence. Stop! You violated the law. You violated the law.
These are people who are very suspicious, specifically on people on your own side, people who claim to be supporters of your ideology, your memes. And that's good. You want a healthy number of paranoid people checking to see if the people who claim to be supporting your side are actually doing so and not just psyops, right? Like leftism, for example, is known for not having enough military police because, like, why else is Hassan Piker, who's the most pathetic, hypocritical, cringy, embarrassing ambassador for leftism, why is he at the forefront of the meme war, right?
Look at this fucking socialist wearing a Rolex hat. Look at this fucking socialist wearing the Gucci shirt. I got my Flashpoint maxed out trigger outfit.
If you had more military police in leftism, the paranoid people would have rooted him out, and leftism would be in a better spot than it is now, let's say. Next, you have people with anxiety. These are your scouts. Obviously, they're very hyper vigilant and can tune in and focus on any threats that might be out there that might threaten the mimetic fitness of your ideology. So our scouts would say, like, hey, enlightened centrist kind of sounds like a pretentious douchey term, like, why are we using that? It could put people off just from hearing it. And that's valid. That's a real threat that you want to take into account as the commander of the meme army. The scouts themselves, because they're anxious, obviously they're afraid of conflict and engaging with people, so they're not very good in combat, but you want to just keep them around the peripheries of your ideology so they can warn you of any incoming potential threats. Okay, next up are bipolar people. These are your adaptive infantry that go offensive or defensive depending on what you need. So they're good at charging into enemies if you have a good meme on offense, but then if you need to secure the memes you already have, then they're very good at dismounting and defending that mimetic territory, right? In other words, when they're manic, they're like, oh, fuck yes, let's take this meme straight to the enemy. And then when they're kind of depressed, it's like, ah, crap, I'll just stay here and protect the memes that I have on my own, Very solid, adaptable unit overall. Next up is Agoraphobics. These are your archers. Obviously, they don't want to get in range of anyone, so they do all of their meme damage from a distance. They have pretty good damage output, but again, if any other unit comes into melee range, in real life range of the Agoraphobics, then they're going to lose pretty easily. So good support supporting units, but be careful of forming your whole army like this. Otherwise, your ideology will never leave the internet. Next up, we have libertarians. These are the merchants. They're very good at financing your army. They're sort of like the backbone of your economy in any ideology. They're very greedy bastards, so they're good at harboring a lot of gold, right? Obviously, they suck in combat because their ideas are so bad, but that's not really why you build them. So as long as you use them effectively with your ideology, then you're good. These are one of the most common mental illnesses I see on the internet, I'd say. Okay, next up, we have people with OCD. These are your battlefield engineers. They're very good at constructing memes effectively. They sort of hyper-focus on one meme at a time. So for example, let's say you are crafting a PowerPoint to spread your memes on behalf of your ideology. You want an OCD person to focus on it because, as you can tell from my PowerPoint, the image is crooked, right? So if I had a battlefield engineer look at this before I sent this into battle, they would have, straightened it out, and the overall meme presentation would have been better, thus increasing the mimetic fitness of the ideology I claim to be purporting. Because they're very hyper-focused, they're not good at defending themselves, so they're very vulnerable to attacks from enemies, so they need to be protected. But if you can get them focused on the right meme smithing, the right meme task, then very valuable assets in your ideology's army. Next up are people with ADHD. These are your light cavalry. They're very mobile, very maneuverable. They're very good at getting to different places on the battlefield quickly. So if you're like, oh, our memes are doing well on Reddit, but oh shit, we forgot to post our memes on Twitter or Instagram or TikTok where the kids are, then the ADHD people can task switch easily and move from one side of the battlefield, the more Reddit side, to the Twitter, TikTok, Instagram side, and spread your memes and therefore your ideology there. They do tend to get distracted pretty easily chasing down enemies even after they've won. So just make sure to try and rally them back in because they kind of focus on whatever's just in front of them, Next up are the narcissists. These are the heavy cavalry of any meme army. They have a very powerful charge. They will just go straight in and tear apart anyone who disagrees with them because they start raging as soon as they get a little pissed off, right? They'll slam into enemies and say, my memes are better than yours and you can die if you disagree. So against neurotypicals who are just like, Jesus Christ, okay, fine. They just kind of acquiesce to the narcissist's request. And the narcissists have good charge, but once they're in combat and once they're in extended conversations and people realize they're an asshole, then they're pretty weak. So you don't want too many narcissists in your army, in your meme army, because everyone will just be like, wow, everyone who believes in this is just an asshole. So why would I even believe in it, Next up are the alcoholics. These are your medics and healers. Alcoholics are not coordinated or sober or aware enough to really convince anyone of anything that would, further your ideology in the Great Meme Wars. But that's not their job. Their job is to basically get drunk and just show love for everyone on your team, right? There's no one who is more friendly to another human being than a drunk person who you just told you have the same belief system as. So a healthy dabbling of alcoholics in your army is going to, keep them alive, keep their morale up in the Great Meme Wars. Next up are depressed people. These are sort of your high defense, slow, very good at just plopping down and securing territory that you already have. Because like a depressed person, they're just going to latch on to an idea and just sit there and be like, I'm literally going to off myself if this idea is wrong, right? So they're very good at just sticking with one idea and holding it. They're specifically good at countering light cavalry in particular because they just immediately suck the energy out of the ADHD people, right? And so a healthy number of depressed people will really solidify your army's mimetic capabilities in the battlefield. Next is Pyromaniacs. These are your Greek flamethrowers. This is pretty hyper-specific at this point, and I'm not really sure how it fits into the bigger meme war, but I just wanted to show these guys off because they're so fucking dope, and everyone loves Greek fire. Like, let's be real. And then lastly, and perhaps most importantly, we have the enlightened centrists. These are the meme commanders, right? They strategize for every ideology on how to win the meme wars, right? They're basically a combination of every other mental illness combined because how unbelievably, mentally ill do you have to be to unironically call yourself an enlightened centrist and expect that to go anywhere, right? So I don't make the rules. That is what it is.